Flint, Flint, Flint! It's a fire, a fire, a fire! The Sunshine Force is on fire in a huge fiery, flamey fire! A man named Thomas circles around the village with a siren, running all the way down to Flint's house. For this part of the game, you actually play as Flint, not Lucas. Mother 3 changes its point of view a lot, letting you see the world in different lights. Thomas tries opening the door himself, but it's locked, to his surprise. People rarely lock their doors here. He continues to pull the doorknob anyway, and pulls so hard that the knob comes off. Flint opens the door from inside and startles Thomas, causing him to throw the doorknob and lose it forever. Flint! This is no time to be dozing off! There's a huge fire in the Sunshine Forest! Bad times like these call for reckless nice guys like you! Please come, Flint, please! Well, that's one way to introduce a forest fire. This quote from Thomas is a good example of the game's sense of humor and straightforward exposition. You team up with him, and he joins your party for a moment. Everywhere you go, Thomas goes too. I'll follow behind you. What? What's so wrong with that? I happen to like following behind people. Now, the forest fire is raging on, but that doesn't mean you have to go there just yet. This is a video game, and that means there isn't actually any real urgency. Story events only happen whenever you go to certain places or talk to certain people. What this means for us is that we have time to wander around and talk to all the townsfolk. As you take a look around town, you'll notice everything is pretty low-tech. All the buildings are made of wood and there's no sign of electricity. Instead of a loudspeaker, people are alerted by the clanging of a bell tower. For a sequel to Earthbound, you'd think everything would look more modern. Here are some of my favorite interactions with the townsfolk. A guy named Jackie, who runs the Yado Inn, ponders whether he should help you or not. If you tell him he should, he makes excuses. He admits his reluctance and leaves it all up for Flint to handle. Seems not everyone is as courageous as him. Thomas, what are you running around like a siren for? Honestly now, you better not cause too much trouble for Flint. Flint seems to be well respected as a tough and responsible man in Tazmily. Thomas, not so much. Abbott says, Flint, the Sunshine Forest, which is west of Crossroad and past the prayer sanctuary, is apparently on fire like crazy. Oh, sorry, that sounded so explanation-like. At least the characters are self-aware when their dialogue sounds like a game tutorial. When you go west, there's a freakishly tall man ringing the bell tower. His name is Later, and Thomas tries to talk to him, but he's as silent as ever. What's this guy's deal? Maybe it's best not to think about it. The music in Tazmily is tense. It begins with a gloomy arpeggio to set the mood. Hardly any melodic phrase here ends satisfyingly. It's on edge. To add to that feeling, strings weave in and out of the song, suggesting a greater threat. However, the melody is played by a quirky synth, which helps balance out the negativity. As we've seen so far, this is not a 100% serious game. Both the bass and percussion are low-key for this song. Strange things are happening to the town, and nobody knows what to make of it. The melody repeats, this time with a flute in the mix. This intensifies the song and keeps it from getting boring. The bass revs up for something new. The song takes a turn to the adventurous side. The bass plays faster and jumps to higher notes more frequently. The synth sounds like it's charging into battle, and a clarinet briefly hops in to put some more pep into the song. We hear some heroic horns, and the song broadens in scope. The percussion intensifies. The town is in danger, and it needs a hero. Flint has risen up to answer the call of duty. Will Tazmily survive? Past the bell tower is the prayer sanctuary. Before heading into the fire, Flint stops to pray. Janella's inside, and he steps aside for him.
Please answer with a calm mind. Please tell me your name. Yes, the name of the person playing this game.
This is an odd request. As you've seen, the game tries really hard to make instructions diegetic, but when the game asks for your real name, it's impossible to be contained inside the game's world. So, the one asking your name comes in the form of a deity, capable of transcending the fourth wall. What will my name be used for? We'll find out some other time. The deity counts down from 3, and you're supposed to forget everything that just happened. Leaving the prayer sanctuary after... what was it again? Ed is blocking Butch and Ollie from entering the forest, but he lets Flint go on ahead. He says he thinks 2 people ironically named Lighter and his son Fuel are still missing. The first person you come across in the forest is Mike. He can't make it any further, so he offers Flint a slightly unclean and not very tasty cookie for good luck. The fire is very close to reaching Isaac's house, but Matt can't find him anywhere. Notice how connected this town is? In most games, minor characters are just nameless people copied and pasted throughout the world. But in Tazmily, no one's a stranger, and everyone looks out for one another. Everyone has their own personalities and livelihoods, and it makes the village more believable. Bronson's gone as far as he could, and he's collapsed on the ground. It looks like Flint, and Thomas too, I guess, are the only ones left who can save the lost villagers. Deeper in the forest, everything is hot red. The trees are falling apart and leaving ashen heaps in their place. We know this disaster is man-made, but why would anyone want to destroy Tazmily? Up ahead, a suspicious figure is spotted. Flint and Thomas hide behind a tree. It's one of the culprits, dressed in a pig uniform. He types something on a metal snout-branded box, and it deploys a swarm of flies. He takes a look around, and then he dashes through a wall of fire, burning himself in the process. It looks like these people aren't very cautious. Flint and Thomas trudge their way through, fighting against bats and, yam monsters, until they finally find Lighter. He's been knocked to the ground because of the relentless onslaught of flies. Nobody appears to be familiar with these creatures, and Lighter explains that they're the ones lighting the fires. Thomas takes care of Lighter while Flint presses on to find Fuel, but before he can go very far, a swarm of fireflies attack. They're more powerful than anything we've seen so far. How did anyone get a hold of them? After the fireflies are defeated, we find a house engulfed in flames. A boy cries from the attic window before being taken down by another strange creature. Flint rams through the door to get inside. Lighter and Fuel's house is in ruins, and it's only a matter of time before it collapses. But before Flint can go upstairs, a flying mouse attacks. It has wings instead of front legs, and it's a strong enemy. After Flint defeats it, he finds Fuel in the attic. Support beams fall to the floor, the house starts rumbling, and Flint runs out with Fuel. Right after they escape, the house completely falls apart, reduced to rubble. It seems like Flint got there just in time. Now, it's time to reunite Lighter and Fuel. But before we leave the forest, I'd like to talk about the music here. It starts out with the beat of a tabla, an Indian wooden drum. Its purpose is to create an association with the trees of the forest. The bass here is really groovy. It's so groovy, it's used in a couple other songs too. It plays in the battle music against the yam monsters and fireflies. Try to hear it. The melody starts ominously as it steadily rises. Then it wildly arpeggiates, flickering like the flames. If you have keen ears, you'll notice that this melody is the same as where the fire began. It's also the same as the fanfare when the logo popped up. This is far from the last time you'll be hearing this tune. It's one of the central themes of the whole soundtrack. This is what's called a leitmotif. A leitmotif is when one part of a song is used in other songs to create an association with something. In this case, it's with the pig soldiers. I'll have more to say about it as the story progresses. Both Flint and Fuel are covered head to toe in soot, but if you take a detour to one of Tazmily's many hot springs, you can get washed up, but only as far as your head, which looks pretty funny. You can also talk to Abbott and Abby along the way back. Oh, Mr. Flint and Fuel! I knew it was you the instant I saw you. Huh? Oh, this injury? Actually, about that. Yes, this injury. Abby was attacked by some bizarre flying mouse thing with bug wings. It just went chomp and bit her on the head. That makes sense. If it didn't, I can explain it to you again. It made sense to me. That was a very easy to understand explanation. Yam monsters and T-Rexes are common sights here, but a flying mouse is where the line is drawn. The Earthbound series is home to some of gaming's most absurd creatures, so when a flying mouse is supposed to be out of place, it's not as effective as it could be. But still, how did these things get here? Back to safety, Fuel finally gets to be with his dad again. Lighter is wrapped up in bandages and has a broken leg, but he tries to put it off as nothing. Lighter thanks Flint for all the help, to which Lou adds is the first time he's ever heard his boss thank anyone. Bronson replies, "Haha, you're right. The only thing that could make this any stranger is if it suddenly started pouring rain." Can you guess what happens next? The song that plays here is much calmer than the ones before it. For a moment, everyone can rest. The piano is the only instrument, and its arpeggios act as healing from the fire. Everyone goes to the Yado Inn to recover. Thankfully, Flint and Fuel only suffered light injuries. It seems like the rain is heavy enough to put out the fire. It's good that the immediate threat is gone, but aren't there other people missing? Flint leaves the inn and encounters Isaac, who is also missing. Flint! Perfect timing. I heard you were taking a rest here. Mighty heavy rain, isn't it? Think I'll join you under the awning. Flint, tell me. Have you seen Hinawa and the kids? I see. Actually, I was up in the mountains earlier, picking mushrooms. While I was up there, I caught sight of Hinawa. Then, while I was taking a break by the river, I heard loud roars far off in the distance. It sounded like it might have been a drago that was roaring. After that, I heard what I think might have been screams. Say, Flint, Hinawa and the kids made it back home, right? Without saying a word, Flint rushes home.